Hello. I am going to be talking a little bit more about that shopkeeper who was filmed restraining a shoplifter, which I put out in a video yesterday. Now, I want to make a couple of comments about the comments that were made. And one of them was, somebody said, should we start a crowdfunder for him? And somebody else said, don't worry, Muslims have very good family support anyway, and he'll probably get help from most of his family. Well, that's assuming that because this man is brown, he's a Muslim, and that's not the case. His second name is Sindhu, and a Sindhu name is the name of the Jat clan, mostly who are started out in Uttar Pradesh. And because Uttar Pradesh is so far north in India, it's a definite mix of different religions, and he could be Hindu and he could be Sikh. And from the look of him, personally, I would have put him down for a Sikh, but that's just a guess. Uttar Pradesh is right next to Punjab, which is where Sikhism started. So that's why Uttar Pradesh has the Muslim, because it's quite close to Pakistan as well, where the Mughals came in from the north. And so Uttar Pradesh is a mixture of Muslim, Hindu and Sikh. He might not have the sort of support, although Sikhs are pretty supportive anyway. But as I say, I was just making a guess. There was another video which I saw in which some shoplifter was emptying a shop. I think this was in America. And the two owners, or the owner and an assistant, both Sikhs, laid into him with a broom handle. And I thought, yeah, never mess with a Sikh. They have a reputation for self-defense, which is deserved and honourable. Okay, I have a lot of time for Sikhs, actually. Right, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. But the second thing I wanted to talk about was something that Konstantin Kisin said about a study to do with how people were perceived. I'll get onto that when I've told you that I'm Granny Opterix. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds, also on Twitter and Gab. All the links are in the description, including links to donation sites. Yeah, that's what it was. Links to donation sites. As for the update on the camera, I bought a camera which I thought was going to be smashing, and then I discovered it needed a special connection, which is going to cost as much as the camera cost. So I slipped up a little bit there. You frequently do on eBay, don't you? Right, so I'm waiting for the delivery of the connection cable now. Sorry about that. And that's why you see this t-shirt here. It's pink. I don't know how it's going to come out on the browser, but it's a pale pink, and it's shining a bit and sort of overpowering my face. And that's because I've got a cheap Logitech camera here. Not the best that Logitech make, by the way, but the problem is that it picks up the light, and whatever I do, if I make it darker, if I bring down the white pointer, then the rest of me goes really dark as well. That's why I needed a new camera. And the other reason, if I try and wear something white, like I'm about to go out to the stables and I'm wearing my usual white shirt when I ride, all you see is this white shirt flaring. I look like something out of a oh gosh, what's the name of that painter? Art Nouveau type painter in Vienna. Just a minute, I'm going to look it up. I don't want to lose this. Klimt, of course. Klimt. Right, I look like something out of a Klimt painting, you know, where he has the head and everything all beautifully detailed, and then the rest of the picture is flat or geometric or something. Now, I'll put a picture of one of his most famous up there so you'll know who I'm talking about. Right, let's get back to this. Konstantin Kisin mentioned a psychological study where women were given an artificial scar on their faces, and then they were shown the scar, which made them look pretty messed up, and they were sent to apply for a job, to have an interview, and to then come back and report at how their facial disfigurement changed the perception of the people who were interviewing them. And the interesting thing, which obviously would be to nobody's surprise really, but it was a good experiment anyway. What they did was they just when the woman was going out, they'd say, "Oh, sorry, hang on, we've got to touch up that scar," and they took it off. But the woman didn't realise that. And then she went in for the interview and came back with the report. Now, of all the women, there were several of them, it wasn't just one. Very frequently, they said that that scar had made a huge difference, that once or twice the interviewers were asking impertinent questions that made some sort of reference to that scar. And that they felt very much attacked because of that. This was most of them, apparently. They didn't have a scar. This was all a matter of perception. Now, unfortunately, black people especially in America and increasingly in Britain are being brought up by people who are telling them that their blackness is the same thing as the facial disfigurement. It's marking them out as something different and possibly inferior, and that this is always going to cripple their chances for their entire lives. And it's all a matter of perception. Now, every country has its tribal in-groups and out-groups, but there are very few as low on the scale as Britain. Very few. But when you've got teachers who are bringing kids up, telling them because they're black, they have a problem from the start, and they are never going to succeed because of this awful mark of Cain they have on their faces. And this is just not true. And it's partly to do with socialism, because socialism likes to tell people that they are stained in some way and that only socialism will help them out. And that's not true either. How many socialist countries do you know who have out-group members in their governments? Not many. I can't think of one right now, but that's digressing a little bit. So you've got a group of people who think of themselves as not inferior, but as treated as inferior because of this scar they bear. And what anybody says, they're always filtering it through, were they being offensive about this? I had, this was years ago, when I was at Stanford, and I was in an English class, and there was one guy there. He was black and he was full of black power type of stuff at the time. He was very much into that, and almost anything that the poor lecturer spoke about, he'd stand up and talk about black power, and so he'd managed to twist it round. But for all that, despite that, I got along with him very well. We sat next to each other and we chatted, and he was actually a nice guy. He had this little extra bit on him. Well, but even I was a little bit nervous about what I said to him, and this is the problem. This is the problem. It's not just that he had this sense of being constantly put upon, but it reduced my ability to be friends with him, because I was also censoring myself ahead of what I was going to say. And there was one particular situation that happened where he turned up and he had flu. I mean, he was really ill. He looked terrible. Now, and all the rosiness had gone from the colour of his face. And I looked at him and I said, I'll just give him a name, James. I said, James, what's the matter with you? You look terribly... And I was going to say pale. And then I realised that he'd probably take that the wrong way. So I did a quick mental jump and I said, grey, which indeed he did look grey. But I was using the word pale, not in the sense of being actually pale, but not having the right rosy colour in his face. But I remember that as an example of where even a good friend can... There's this barrier. There was this barrier. Anyway, back to that shoplifter. She was probably brought up with the idea that everybody's against her, not only white people, but people of Indian heritage as well. And so she felt no problem about victimizing him. And apparently some of the people were leaving notes or making posts, I don't know, saying, go back to Leicester. Leicester is known for having a large subcontinental population of mostly Muslim, by the way, which he might not be, which is, of course, extremely racist. And is definitely not coming from white people, almost certainly coming from black people, but black people who are so indoctrinated on their own victimization that they don't understand good manners or getting along with people anymore. They are just angry victims all the time. Apparently this poor fellow's shop is now closed. He's going to go out of business. It's not going to do anyone any good. And I'm really sorry for him. Well, we might also remember that, and this is, as I say, I'm not so sure he's a Muslim, but if you remember all those Muslims outside the school in Batley, they shut that place down for days because a teacher was talking about free speech. And now the teacher is still in hiding because he's been named. He was named by his own union. And here we have the example of the Labour socialist organisations helping people. He was named and now he's in hiding somewhere and his life has been turned upside down. And that was by a Muslim mob. And we have far too many of these mobs dictating people's behaviour in our country right now. And of course, I blame the police. The whole lot of that mob should have been arrested. They should have been arrested and charged and then told if anything happened to that teacher, they'd be out there doing a sweep. And all that mob outside there should be arrested and charged. Same thing. Breaching the peace, threats, the police can always find an excuse. This should not be allowed to happen at all, ever. As I was talking about a civil society, when a shopkeeper can't keep a shop and people come in and buy things, but they have to be afraid all the time of being targeted for thievery and by a specific group which thinks it's entitled to do that, then we can't have shops anymore. And that's part of the civil society. Napoleon called Britain a nation of shopkeepers. He was being offensive, but the British were proud of that. We are a nation of small businessmen who can get on with our business without interference because we're a civilized society. This is not an example of a civilized society, and so it should be dealt with. I'm not sure that any government will deal with it. Certainly a Labour government wouldn't deal with it. They'll be full of all sorts of justifications. But the Conservative government is just, they know it's wrong, but they're sort of, what can we do type of attitude. That's not good either. All right, well, yeah, that's more about that shop. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.grannyopterics.com, and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.